Yeah.
And now,
Okay.
I'd like to
Take two.
introduce Marty Buss.
Okay. Have you ever gone to prepare for a speech, and the very first thing that comes to your mind is, come on, you. I don't have a thing to talk about. Well, today I'm going to talk about how you can find things to talk about. But first, who am I? Who am I to tell you this? Well, I'm Marty Buss, as you heard. This is me. Well, it kind of looks more like this. To the truth be told, I was born in Indiana. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and then later in New Jersey. I currently reside in California, specifically in Seaside, California. Actually, more specifically, right here. I got my undergraduate degree at Rutgers University. I got a master's degree at Arizona, and I completed my graduate studies at Cornell. I am a professor. That kind of looks like me, doesn't it?
Yes.
Here at the Naval Postgraduate School. I'm a distinguished Toastmaster. I like to play fiddle with my friends. In case you're wondering, that's me. In my youth, I like to play rock and roll. Which one's me? I once played bluegrass music. That's me. I'm passionate about social issues. This is me at the 1963 March on Washington. Oh, there I am. I like to give speeches in Toastmasters. In case you're wondering, that's still me. I counted them up. In my years in Toastmasters, I've given over 100 manual speeches. In recent years, my passion has become interpersonal communication, not just public speaking. And in case you're wondering, that's not me. And that's not me either. I don't have anything to talk about. Has that ever run through your mind when you're preparing a speech? You say, oh, I got to give a speech, but I don't have anything to talk about. I need to have some fancy lecture material, fancy equations, things to give a lecture about. An effective speech is not lectures, it is a story. We learn best by hearing stories, probably because as children we were read to by our parents. Or maybe in previous years, thousands of years ago, our civilization carried on through stories told around the campfire. So I don't have anything to talk about. Do you know anybody who's ever said, I have nothing to wear? Ladies, fess up, when their closet looks like this. I have nothing to wear. Your speech closet is full. It is full of stories about your favorite subject. You. Remember your icebreaker speech? I do. Remember, I've given over 100 manual speeches, and in thinking about these manual speeches, I realized that if you put them all together, they're really just one long icebreaker. So if you've been able to give an icebreaker, you can give another speech. So where do I start, you're thinking? Well, what about your early years? I was born in Indiana, in a log cabin that I built with my own hands. What was it like for you when you were born? Growing up, I grew up in Pittsburgh. I was there when Bill Mazeroski hit a home run to beat the infamous Yankees. Woohoo! In New Jersey, I was there in 1967 when the entire city of New York went dark. Moving from Pennsylvania to New Jersey is a little bit of a culture shift. To go from a steel town to the Jersey Shore. And for those of you who might be thinking, there is actually no such place as Jersey Shore. There is the shore, as in, let's go down to shore. What about your education? I did my undergraduate degree at Rutgers University. There were lots of student activities, which in my time looked something like this. I think they've changed a little bit, but things come around. What about the environment? I got my master's degree at the University of Arizona. That's in Tucson. This is one of hundreds of sights that you see if you're around the desert in Tucson. It is just amazing. And then we moved upstate New York that looks more like this. Are there stories to tell about this? There was the time in April when it snowed 20 inches in a couple of hours, and we were unable to get home. What about your career? Well, I am a professor, but before coming to the Naval Postgraduate School, I was in Washington University in St. Louis. I was there when the Dalai Lama came, and I got to hear him. I was there during the first presidential debate between the elder George Bush and the not-so-elder Bill Clinton, although he's a little older now, I guess. What about your interests? I have a few stories to tell about this. You've heard some of them maybe, but there are lots more. Some of them perhaps not fit for each age. I play bluegrass music in Tucson. You may notice that all of the members of this band have orange Day-Glow cowboy hats. There's a story behind that. I won't tell it to you now. What about Toastmasters? I'm a distinguished Toastmaster. It took 9 years for me to do that. In 9 years, I have a few tales to tell about giving speeches, such as my best humorous speech that I was reminded of just a few months ago when I ran to someone and said, "Hey, you're the guy who said Toastmasters." My 86 ahs here, every one of which was counted by my friend Carl. And helping to start the club Talk the Line in Soledad Prison, one of the highlights. So what's your story? You have tons of stories about your early years, about formative experiences, your education, your career, your interests. Your speech closet is full, it is overflowing with speeches. So when you think to yourself, I don't have a thing to talk about, you've got lots to talk about. Tell us your story. Madam Toastmaster.